From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Is our state prepared to protect the next election from hackers? An Arizona lawmaker questions if security is in place to fight off cyber crooks.
The president of the Arizona Farm Bureau goes before Congress. Her message, save ranches and save federal land.
Riding the trails on a unicycle, an Arizona man pedaling to the top of an extreme sport.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Felipe Corral Jr.
And I'm Allison Snell. Thanks for joining us. We're less than 12 weeks from the midterm elections. Many pundits calling it a critical day for our future. But is the democratic process safe from cyber criminals?
Arizona was reportedly a victim of election hacking in 2016. Reporter Gabriela Becerra shares how the nation and the state are taking precautions.
The National Protection and Programs Directorate is an office within Homeland Security designed to protect the nation's physical and cyber infrastructure. Representative Martha McSally questioned Undersecretary Christopher Krebs about the reported hack and how this changes the security of the upcoming election.
Just because it hasn't happened yet in 2018 doesn't mean it can't happen between now and Election Day. If they choose to, right? Threat equals capability plus intent.
Representative Martha McSally says she has concerns about the detection and solutions for election hacking. Undersecretary of the National Protection and Programs Directorate, Christopher Krebs, says they are looking at this issue as a whole, focusing on the entire country rather than just an individual state.
Looking back at the specifics of 2016, but given our broader understanding of the IT environments that support elections, we are looking at more broadly where the vulnerabilities are just in the system in general and what are the things we can do to address those vulnerabilities broadly.
Despite this, Krebs says they engage with Arizona and other states on a regular basis.
I am continually impressed by the level of seriousness that secretaries of state and state election directors are paying to this issue. They want more information. They want more threat information. They want more information about how they can understand and manage their risk.
Maricopa County Recorder Adrian Fontes says their office has as much on lockdown as possible and stays in communication with jurisdictions around the country to prevent potential threats.
We work with local, state, and federal agencies consistently, and so we're doing everything we can to maintain the integrity of the system.
Krebs says that when something goes wrong in an election, people assume that it's related to Russia, when in actuality it could be caused by a number of things. He also believes Arizona's issues were most likely not related to Russia. Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
Next week, President Trump is scheduled to meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Trump says he will ask whether Russia meddled with the 2016 election.
As you know, I'm meeting with President Putin on Monday. And I think we go into that meeting not looking for so much. We want to find out about Syria. We will, of course, ask your favorite question about meddling. I will be asking that question again.
This conference, President Trump said that Putin is not a friend and not an enemy, saying, quote, "I hope we get along well." 11.5 million acres. That's how much rangeland the U.S. Bureau of Land Management oversees in Arizona. But who's better at managing those lands, the government or the ranchers who graze their cattle on it? That question was asked at a House hearing in Washington today. Cronkite News reporter Pat Pobletti was on Capitol Hill for the hearing.
The president of the Arizona Farm Bureau told congressional leaders today that environmental regulations that were meant to protect federal lands are actually doing the opposite and harming Arizona's ranching industry to boot. Stephanie Smallhouse, president of the Arizona Farm Bureau and a fifth-generation rancher from Gilbert's, trusts the benefits that grazing on public land provides.
The message is basically how important grazing is in the western United States and in our public lands, and the role that that plays in maintaining those public lands and land conservation.
Smallhouse was one of several witnesses at the House Natural Resources Subcommittee hearing examining livestock grazing on federal lands, an issue that many committee members appeared to support.
It puts our public lands to productive use. It provides an important management tool for fuel reduction and fire prevention. It supplements and extends our ability to superintend our vast public land holdings, and it provides revenues and livelihoods for the surrounding communities.
But Eric Molvar, executive director of the Western Watersheds Project, raised the alarm about damage that livestock grazing is doing to wildlife.
You can look at the number of endangered or threatened runs or populations of trout and salmon in the West to see that livestock grazing is having a significant negative effect on our fish fauna.
But Smallhouse countered that laws to protect and conserve wildlife, like the National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA, and the Endangered Species Act, are actually backfiring.
The NEPA process to approve necessary conservation projects has been slowed to the point of complete paralysis in many areas due to obstruction and threat of litigation from radical environmental groups. NEPA is a necessary analysis, but it was not intended to end grazing in the West.
Today's meeting wasn't tied to any specific legislation, but the Congressional Western Caucus is soon expected to unveil a proposal that would modernize the Endangered Species Act. In Washington, Pat Pobletti, Cronkite News.
57 of the 103 young migrant children separated from their parents at the border have been reunited. That figure is coming this morning from federal officials. There are several listed reasons for why the other 46 children remain alone, which include deportation and criminal history of some of the adults. A judge set a deadline of this past Tuesday to reunite kids who are younger than 5 years old. The order came after a class action lawsuit was filed by the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU tweeted today that if the government has reunified 57 kids because of the lawsuit, they are thrilled for those families. Meantime, the government is now working to meet a judge's order that thousands of older children should be reunited by July 26th.
Detaining migrant children has become a billion-dollar industry. A new analysis by the Associated Press finds detaining kids in the U.S. now reaps over $1 billion annually. Health and Human Services grants for detaining unaccompanied and separated children have skyrocketed from $74 million in 2007 to $958 million in 2017. Tonight, there are over 11,000 kids being housed in facilities in 15 states. One of those states is Arizona. After a devastating fire, Safeway says it plans to relocate employees from the store to other locations in Phoenix and surrounding areas. A combination of water and fire gutted the building that served the community for the past 37 years. Fire investigators are looking to see if flooding from a microburst contributed to the roof collapse in West Phoenix. Fire officials think there was a partial roof collapse near the back of the store. That collapse potentially hit a gas line, causing the fire. It's believed the roof collapsed under the weight of the water from a monsoon storm. No one was hurt in the collapse or fire.
Campsite was there, everything got washed away. Documenting this. There's some poor people. People definitely got hurt. There's a girl in the tree over there. A lot of people huddling. Those people can't get over.
Dramatic video shows the aftermath of the flooding at the falls in the Grand Canyon on Havasupai tribal land. About 200 tourists had to be evacuated. They're expected to be flown out today. Everyone is accompanied for, and there were no serious injuries. The tribe says they were hit with 2 rounds of flooding yesterday and early this morning, and the area is expected to be closed for a week to assess the damage.
Senator John McCain took to Twitter today to express his thoughts on President Donald Trump's appearance at the NATO summit this week. In a statement, McCain said POTUS's performance at NATO summit was disappointing yet unsurprising. There's little use in parsing his misstatements and bluster, except to say that they are the words of one man. Americans and their Congress still believe in the transatlantic alliance. The Barbie doll has been around for almost 6 decades.
And the doll's presence in the toy community continues to grow. Coming up on Cronkite News, she was introduced to the world as a teenage fashion model. Today, Barbie has evolved quite a bit since 1959.
And firefighters are battling more than just flames this week, how they're making a splash with families in the valley.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. The 2018 election season has arrived. Join us for primary and general election debates. Right here, meet the candidates and hear their positions. Arizona Horizon, your source for what matters most this election season. Only on Arizona PBS.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
The U.S. Department of Justice says it is reopening the long-time investigation into the 1955 death of Emmett Till. Emmett Till was 14 years old when he was lynched in Mississippi. Till was accused of whistling at a white woman. The gruesome images of Till's beaten body after his death helped inspire the civil rights movement. Last year, a book about Till's death referenced the woman who made the accusations against him. The book quotes a conversation in which the woman admits to lying about Till's actions. In a report sent to Congress last March, the Department of Justice says it made the decision to reopen the case after receiving new information.
Barbie has come a long way since her debut nearly 60 years ago. She widened her horizon to new careers, different body types, and ethnicities. Reporter Amanda Mason visited the National Barbie Convention and spoke with designers and collectors about the doll's evolution.
The evolution has happened over the past 3 years, and Mattel says their goal is to create Barbies that everyone can identify with. And the collectors I spoke with say that they have an emotional attachment to the doll that spans decades.
My Barbie doll is really real.
Deborah Johnson has been collecting specifically vintage Barbies for 32 years.
I always wanted to be, when I was little, a scientist for a space mission because the space race was really, popular in the 60s. So there were no limitations on where your imagination could go.
Barbie has over 200 careers. She was an astronaut and surgeon before it was common. Mattel says they want to highlight underrepresented careers by women and help young girls play out these roles.
Does anybody know how big the brain is? Anybody?
I have a almost 2-year-old granddaughter, and I think the world is going to be a totally different place for her, a lot more opportunities. It doesn't have the limitations like when I was growing up.
Mario Palghino and Gianni Grossi are European Barbie designers who worked on the Shiro's project, a collection of Barbies highlighting present-day women who broke boundaries in their field.
It's 20 years we are together, and we start dreaming with Barbie. We start dreaming with Barbie. When we met for the first time, we were just talking about what do you play when you were a child, and of course Barbie came out, and then we started collecting, and then designing.
Pabu Redfeather also designs Barbies, and he has collected 9,000 of them. Every year at the convention, he donates Barbies that he designed.
My mother is Blackfoot Indian. I wanted to design a doll that represented her tribe. This is a very traditional Blackfoot dress. Being that this is Arizona, I wanted to represent Arizona in a Native American way.
This year, the proceeds from the National Barbie Convention auctions will help free arts for abused children in Arizona and UMOM, a mission to end homelessness. In the Broadcast Center, Amanda Mason, Cronkite News.
Phoenix Sky Harbor has added a new way to get through security lines faster. Clear, a security program that uses biometric-based scanners, launched its high-tech program at the Phoenix Airport. Once at the Airport Security Administration area, travelers stand in a line dedicated to Clear kiosks. Identities are then verified by travelers' fingerprints or an eye scanner. Clear is now available at Sky Harbor's Terminal 4 and will soon be open at all of the airport's terminals. Sky Harbor became the 25th U.S. airport to welcome the system. Joining the program comes with a price tag of $179 a year. President Donald Trump apparently wants to redesign Air Force One. An official familiar with the president's plan says that Trump is deeply involved in talks about the redesign of the presidential aircraft. The iconic white and blue plane could be redrawn to include a splash of red, but no official decisions have been made as to what it will actually look like. Air Force One was last redesigned for President John F. Kennedy in 1962, when it was painted sky blue and cayenne. One of the best ways to get exercise in Arizona is to go up and down the trails.
Most of us do it either by hiking or a mountain bike. But we found a guy who prefers to do it with the unicycle. Coming up on Cronkite News, how he came up with the idea of riding the trails on one wheel.
We're currently looking at 99 degrees, but stay tuned because later in the show, I'll let you know if you're safe to wash your car.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs. We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Arizona Snow Bowl is reopening this Friday after nearly 2 months of closure for fire safety restrictions. Snow Bowl has new activities available, including a summer tubing slope, bungee trampoline, and climbing courses. The U.S. Forest Service lifted their fire restrictions on Wednesday after the area received some much-needed rain. The monsoon moisture remains in the air tonight,
which means there's a chance for more storms. Jordan Daphnis has our weather forecast.
We're currently seeing 99 degrees, which is a nice change from where we were last week. If you can remember, at this time last week, we were at 113 degrees. So enjoy this break while you can. Now, there is more humidity than we're used to, so it's a little muggy outside, but still cooler temperatures. Across the valley, we've got 103 in Glendale, 107 up in Buckeye, 99 down in Florence, and 105 in Gila Bend. Throughout the state, we've got mainly double digits, which is just, again, a nice change. 71 up in Flagstaff, 92 down in Stafford, and 96 in Lake Havasu City. Now, looking into the next 7 days, we're going to see cloud coverage all the way across. And this weekend, there is a 30% chance of rain, so I wouldn't get your car washed just yet. Jumping into next week, we're going to see 106 on Thursday. Can't imagine riding a two-wheel bike on a mountain. Well, I met up with a guy who takes on the hills with just one wheel. Ken Short is a unicyclist who's taking the sport to new heights. Ken Short came up with the idea of unicycling on the trails when his mountain bike broke down.
I was riding mountain bikes and hiking a lot, and then my bike broke, so I took my old unicycle to this mountain and then just started from there.
He began unicycling at the age of 12, but took a break until around 5 years ago when he rediscovered his passion.
There's almost no cap to the sport, and so it's just addicting. Every day you want to ride.
This addiction is a healthy one, and it helped him kick some of his old bad habits.
I wasn't in that good a shape. I smoked cigarettes, and so since then I've quit though.
And now he's developed some new habits.
Yeah, I drink more water. I don't really drink a lot. I eat healthy. I exercise like 7 days a week.
For those interested in giving the sport a try, Short says it's not too difficult. It just takes practice.
They say it takes like 10 to 12 hours depending on how you split it up to learn how to ride a unicycle, and then from there, whatever you want to do.
Short enjoys this hobby so much, he says he hopes to one day make a career out of it.
Hopefully there's like a path to sponsorships and money and maybe bigger competitions.
There is a unicycle group here in Arizona. You can find them on Facebook by searching Arizona Unicycling Club. For Cronkite News, Jordan Daphnis.
Flashing lights, blaring sirens, and a big red fire truck.
All part of a fun way to keep kids cool this summer. Coming up on Cronkite News, some high-energy kids get sprayed down by friendly firefighters.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Exploring, it's the lifeblood of the mission.
Human beings are a curious bunch.
What are we going to see when we get really close?
Just because an idea is crazy, it's not necessarily wrong.
We were on our way.
You don't get anywhere until you've tested the limits.
That carries an intensity you can't imagine.
You could hear people just, whoa.
Oh my God, absolutely spectacular.
It's a rush. We ask a lot of our heroes.
We are at a remarkable moment.
We're going farther than any exploration ever has.
A new study links baby sleep to solid food. According to the study, starting a baby on solid foods at 3 months may result in a small but significant improvement in their sleeping habits. Improvements include waking up less throughout the night. More than 1,300 babies were monitored from 3 months to 3 years old. Half of the babies were breastfed alone until 6 months, while the other half breastfed and started solid foods at 3 months. Babies who got solids early were found to have about 2 more hours of sleep per week. Most pediatricians suggest not starting solid foods until the 6-month mark.
In the middle of summer, parents are always looking for creative ways to beat the heat. I went to Scottsdale where the fantastic fire department came for a day full of water fun.
Sirens usually mean an emergency, but instead, here they signaled kids beating the heat. Andy's Coffee Shop in Scottsdale put on the Water Day for kids to come out and spray the fire hose at each other.
We just wanted to have some fun with kids and families, and you know, summer is just a hard time for families to have something that they can do, so today we did a Water Day.
But before the fun could begin, a few safety rules. The most important, No spraying it anywhere other than the belly button. With temperatures hitting the hundreds in Arizona, this gave everyone a chance to cool down.
Well, I just love for families to have some time together, and all the moms and dads that came out and got to play with their kids. I think that's probably the best part.
While some lounged in the shade, others enjoyed getting soaked.
The kids got the opportunity to cool down today and do some target practice.
But that was not the only thing kids got to enjoy.
To be coming outside and being shot by a huge cannon.
The pull of a lever shot water high into the sky. The kid-sized fire equipment was super-sized fun.
Very much fun.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, meet the Democratic candidate running for state treasurer, and we'll hear about the largest back-to-school clothing drive in Maricopa County. That's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour, making sense of streaming, how video on demand has become big business. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.